Greetings, fellow All Valley fighting enthusiast. Welcome to the festivities as we talk Spoilercast for Cobra Kai Season 4. It's I, Blue Dragon 5, joined by my fellow dojo residents.
Tiki.
Rohith darn.
And as you guessed it, we're talking Cobra Kai Season 4. We're breaking it all down, episode by episode, because they felt the need to do that by dragging things out in the penultimate episode. We're all here now. We're talking about it, but we're starting the new year off right. Talking about Cobra Kai.
Mm-hmm. Rohith, I think I'm going to let you go first on this one because we have never heard from you about Cobra Kai. So just give us your overall thoughts on the show and then your thoughts on season 4.
Overall thoughts on the show. It's one of the very few pieces of media that takes sort of the conventions of the decades later sequel and surpasses those tropes and really fleshes out not just the characters in the Karate Kid films, but also has a lot of depth with their original characters in the show. And I think it's been good so far. I'll say in regards to season 4, I think we'll get into it. I guess I'll put my cards on the table. I personally feel that season 4 was the best season overall. My least favorite, if I were to rank them in terms of seasons, my least favorite season is season 3, then it's 1, 2, and then 4. 4 being my most favorite. I can see where certain people have issues, especially with sort of the dynamic with Danny and Johnny, and I can see maybe certain part of the teen drama maybe getting a little bit old at this point. I think for me, sort of the highs of the season kind of overweigh that, or at least for me, or alternatively, the lows don't really affect me as much. So that's sort of where I'm staying for this particular season.
Okay. Sure. So here's where I'm coming down on Cobra Kai. First of all, I just want to say I do really like how 3 and 4 were kind of they kind of happened into this where we ended last year with I guess more miraculously we started the year off with season 3 and we kind of ended the year with season 4. So I kind of like the happy accident happened there. It feels kind of refreshing in terms of like how they premiered these. I really like that. This season is trickier than the past 3, I feel. Season 1, you have the cell. Like, okay, we're all feeling it for, like the moral gray of it all. You get the hook of the series. It ends, rather dramatically in terms of, we see where it's going. And oh my God, Crease is back. Season 2, you have, you have the complication of Crease in the dynamic. And then you have your big Mufasa ending, as Tiki has put in the past. The Miguel fall, the Mufasa fall. Oh God, what happened to our boy? No. And season 3 is where we're getting the really kind of some cool narrative tricks, I felt. So those 3 seasons, I think they each bring something to the table. Unfortunately, the problem with season 4, to me at least, is we know where it's leading. Season 3 built that up really well at the end of 3, where, that leads us in the position, well, we know where it's going, so now we're kind of spinning our wheels for what amounts to, by the end of it, kind of the whole season. I mean, on the pro side, got the Kenny story. We got Terry Silver being reintroduced. Con... I mean, unless this is the last season, Johnny and Daniel, they can't be 100% fixed and on the same team, which creates kind of a problem. So we're basically waiting until season 5 to get to that point, which is kind of what we sold this season on being. So I think it's a solid continuation of the story that is, assuming it's nearing the end. But it should end at 5 based on how this season went, because they're at risk of losing, of kind of maybe bleeding to that CW territory, which is a horror show of like, oh God. Right now, we're teetering that line, but if they go...
Dragon, I want to kiss you, man. I mean, not really, obviously, but man, I thought I'd be the only one. Tiki, one with this opinion.
I've been trying to tell you. I've heard a lot of people share this opinion, though. You're not...
I have not, dude. Literally every review on the internet I have seen for this season has been nothing but completely glowing, nothing but basically just like, pardon the phrase, but verbal masturbation about like, oh, it's so good. It's the best season ever. Cobra Kai.
Mind you, Well, mind you, so most of these people I've heard, they haven't watched the end of the season, but up to like, let's say like 2 to 3
I'm talking
episodes
like
out
just
from,
to throw a name out there. I'm talking to like the Jeremy Johnses of the world. Just throw a name out. You like that crowd is basically what I'm talking about.
So to jump in a little, I will say I do get your point, Blue Dragon, about Daniel and Johnny. Sort of, it's kind of like it's kind of like the sitcom like romance couple, like where there's the will they, won't they,
and once they get together, then the show's over.
Yeah, I think the show is gonna have them be together, and then the thrust of the plot will be just having more characters being involved and other stuff. I mean, I hope so. I can see maybe disliking the season if, say, season 5 or 6 don't have them be together for part of it. So I will concede at that point.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, where I love these characters and I love what we built up for those 3 seasons, and it just kind of hurts to see them regress in places in this season. Unfortunately, there are definitely spots in this season where they do regress when we know they're absolutely capable of evolving. And I don't necessarily want to label it bad, but it is very frustrating, you know. And then there were certain.
I would not label this as a bad season. I would label this as like a 7 out of 10 when the others have been 9 out of 10s. That's how I would describe it.
Really? Not one of them would be like a 10 out of 10? Just it's firm 9s for the 3?
I would say for the 3, yeah, maybe. I'd
I don't know. Season 1 had a lot going. I don't know. Season 1 might be a 10. I don't know. I gotta re-explore. I don't know.
You know, you touched on something with your feedback that I very much agree on, but I want to elaborate on it further, just because, like, we know the end game of this season with the tournament.
Yeah.
I'll go one step further. No matter who wins this damn tournament, we know that that's not going to be the end, because we know that all 3 of these dojos are so stubborn that they're not just going to step aside. Like, obviously, Cobra Kai is not going to adhere to the deal. And obviously, like, you know, Johnny and Daniel aren't going to adhere to the deal. We saw as much at the end of the season. And so for me, that took a lot of the momentum out. Like, even watching the tournament play out, I was just like, it really doesn't matter which of these teams wins, because at the end of the day, like, whoever does not win is going to come back and do it anyways, because that's just who these characters are.
You know what I think, now that you say that, you know what would have been a better way to make the stakes of the tournament palatable is if whichever dojo wins gets like a lot of money that for Cobra Kai they can use to expand.
Uh-huh.
And I think
I do like the franchising of Cobra Kai. That is a nice evolution of their threat level.
Yeah, but the thing is, with Terry Silver being there, that's already done. So like, there's no, like, I feel like, yeah, that I do not, when I say it like that,
there's no direct consequence from them winning. Yeah. It's like, well, they could have done that anytime, really, because he's rich.
Yeah, no, I think then I'm trying to think, like, what is a better way to have the stakes of the tournament be like real?
Well, I think what it would have been is that, you know, would have been maybe here's the thing. I was going to say it could be a monetary thing where it's like if there was prize money, then the other dojos could have gone out of business. But Daniel LaRusso doesn't charge at all for his dojo.
Yeah,
neither does Johnny at this point. At least because he's doing it in the park right now. He doesn't even have to pay rent. So yeah, there's
or maybe like they get like, I don't know, advertising like from like the, you know how like Super Bowl, you know, like people that win
sponsorship,
Super Bowl rings. Ooh, yeah, the sponsorships things, and also considering, here's the thing. Remember, like in the season, there's like mentions about college and all that stuff.
Yeah,
and I think for most of the kids in both Eagle Fang and Miyagi-Do, they're not really super well off, with the exception of Sam. Have it be that like the team that wins get like college scholarships and opportunities.
I mean, that sounds good. I don't know how practical that would be, but it's not. This is what I'm saying. It's the season has a challenge with the stakes. I think that's something we can kind of agree on, where we kind of know what the main stakes are. But the whole season to me feels like it's set up that ultimately kind of cancels itself out with the promise at the top of season where they're going to team up. They're not going to team up, but they're going to team up next season. Well, that's what I went this season for.
I mean, had they just done a written contract and had like both Daniel and Johnny sign it, as well as Silver and Crease, that would have upped the stakes. Because
I think you're right about that one. Right? That might have actually might have tightened things up a little.
And I'm sorry Silver didn't suggest doing that or didn't try to like force.
All right, guys, I want to just get to the episode so that we don't just burn through all this conversation all at once. All right, I'm sorry.
Good point. Let's just do it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go to episode 1. Let's begin.
So yeah,
and I thought this was a great opening episode. I really did. Like, from this episode, I was pretty hooked on it. Like, the problems did not start to show themselves yet.
Well, I know when the problems show up for me, but yeah, you're right. See, episode 1 is very much like, this is the promise of everything you are. Like, we subvert the expectation in a good way of like, okay, they're not instantly going to be. There's going to be some there's going to be a learning curve between the two dojos being in the same space together and having very different methods. And I think they're making progress, but we're not going to cure our guys of their stubbornness until the show's over, really.
Right, and that stuff is fine in the episode, although I do think it's a little frustrating where it's like we literally spent 3 seasons building up to these two getting together, and then it's like they just still are pretty much like as incompatible as they've ever been. It's like they're not even really trying to work together as senseis. But that becomes like I think the big flaw of this whole season is when the two dojos split off again.
For me, that's the problem.
That to me is almost like the shark jump moment of the series. Almost.
I'd be inclined to agree with you. Yes.
Okay. So we'll get there.
So let me bring up something. Tiki, you've always, if I recall, you've historically had a problem with this, and I wonder because I thought they fixed it majorly this season. I wonder how you feel about it. I think we fixed Robbie really nicely this season.
Okay, let me say, most improved players. That's kind of a tradition, and I think in season 2 it was Hawk. In season 3 it was probably Sam. And in season 4, I absolutely think both Robbie and Tori both got kind of like, a shot in the arm as far as character likability goes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think for me, what really sold me in episode 1 that I think is very important to the season is that Robbie, along with Stingray, but we'll get to him.
We'll get to Stingray. Oh, man.
Robbie and ultimately Stingray, but thematically, Robbie is the key to the season in which he embodies the lesson that the senseis need to come to grips with. Robbie is kind of the key for Cobra Kai to have the advantage because he knows both styles. He knows Cobra Kai and he knows Miyagi-Do, and essentially that's what Johnny and Danny, they need to swap their methods so they can train their students so essentially they'd be unbeatable. They need to achieve balance, which Robbie has. So I love that already in episode 1 they sold me so much in the fact of like, oh my God, Robbie who's kind of embraced kind of the father and the father figure at times. He's very much the symbol of literally the whole father-son story of the whole show, as well as the lesson for them to get over the rivalry. He's the key. It's like he's the chosen one from Star Wars. He could yeah. So I like the whole push and pull harmony thing represented by this character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the real star attraction of episode 1. Which is John Kreese and Terry Silver, because oh my God, all these scenes are just to fucking die for.
It's great seeing Terry Silver well adjusted at the top of this.
So,
I mean, first of all, how good of an opening is it? Just, that great piano music and the hair, you don't even really see his face.
Yeah. You know what Terry Silver's initial arc until he gets back to Cobra Kai remind me of?
What?
It reminds me of the initial scenes at the very beginning of The Dark Knight Returns, where Bruce is just a billionaire playboy. He's quote unquote well adjusted, but there's that nagging voice.
I can see that totally.
Gotcha. Very kind of mustache Bruce from Dark Knight Returns. Gotcha.
Yeah. And then
I just think that scene Martin Cove just have to deal with these yuppies is just absolute pure comedy gold of the highest order.
Because we've seen, especially in season 3, some of the best stuff in season 3 is Crease. Basically, he's weaponized, the PC culture to his advantage. So we're seeing him we're seeing the true revilement of oh God.
I mean, just all his reactions to everything going on at this luncheon, whatever the hell it is.
That's a nice lizard on your arm. Or the lizard dojo, right?
Yeah.
So,
you had a karate phase.
So here's what I loved about all that. Is what we do with these two in this episode. I just love that we're throughout the season, but even at the start here with Terry Silver, because we have to do this. I love that we're calling out the Karate Kid 3 antics and I was cocaine.
Oh yeah, that was it's basically like Karate Kid 3. Terry Silver was most definitely on a copious amount of cocaine, canonically.
So I love that we kind of acknowledge that he's gotten past that, and again, he embodies something of he did what Crease should have done, which is well, to a degree, he's done what the argument can be made where I think he does what Crease should have done, that he's buried the trauma, but as Crease would probably look at it, you're not you need to channel your trauma, not bury it. So that's kind of where those guys stand. It's kind of like you need to move on in some way, shape, or form. Only Crease is very much still steeped in the past, it seems.
Yeah.
Should we talk about Honey, I Blew Up the Kid?
All right, you mean the age thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So well, this
would not be a problem if it wasn't just like literally the season begins right after the end of the last season.
Yeah, and the main problem is too because of the YouTube Red thing. Because Cobra Kai was made years ago, made in 2018.
Oh yeah.
Technically 2017, if you want to say when they probably filmed it. So there's like a 4 to 5 year kind of gap.
So Miguel and company in that season, they are literal children.
Yeah.
And here they are not.
Yeah, now Miguel looks like he could be a Blue Beetle. I wonder how that's.
Yeah, I mean, I think Miguel is easily the most notable age gap, but yeah, holy shit, that kid got a growth spurt. My God.
Your growth spurt? Bert, like, now I think about it, it's like, God. I mean,
there's nothing the show could have done outside of like doing a flash forward, and they couldn't have really done that either because the timeline of the karate tournament was played.
Exactly, they had like less than a year. So
yeah.
The only way for you to not to face the age issues is if this was like a different medium, like an animated show or a comic book.
I like to say it's just it's karate powers. It's the adrenaline of the sport.
If this was just like a network show, instead of just having like 10 episodes, like you just had the first season 1 and 2 just be one season, and then season like a network show, Cobra Kai season 2 be season 3 and 4, then the age gap wouldn't.
That's what I'm saying. It's kind of.
Isn't it funny that they did the whole like the way that networks usually write their aging kids out of these shows into the end of this season with Miguel?
Yeah.
It's like, guys, you're kind of a season 2 late. That bus would have been useful a season ago.
Yep.
Let me tell you my main flaw with Miguel. All right.
Well, you sure you want to talk about it in episode 1?
Maybe not.
That's what I'm saying. I want to wait until.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Has the flaw happened yet?
Dragon, I don't know.
All right. Well, I'm sorry. I mean, was it early on a flaw?
I'll bring it up in episode 2 because I think it probably starts around episode 2.
I'm thinking perhaps we should transition.
Okay. So episode 2, first learn stand. Oh, one more thing about episode 1. Yeah. Miguel's grandma is just freaking adorable.
Yeah, rock. She's always rocked though.
Yeah, she does. But I'm just saying, like, I feel like she just gets more and more adorable as the seasons go on. I just love how I love how feisty that character is.
Yeah, kick the kid in the face again.
Right. Okay. So first learn stand. So I'm going to assume that this issue starts to pop up now. And that's that throughout the season, I feel like Miguel is bonding with both Johnny and Daniel. And I don't really think anything ever comes of that arc-wise, just because I feel like it's really just there to create artificial tension for the most part. I mean, obviously, we have the big moment with Johnny's big mistake with Miguel towards the end of the season, which we'll get to, obviously. Mm-hmm. But until then, it's kind of just like, I don't know. I like Sensei Lawrence. I like Sensei LaRusso. I don't know. He just kind of seems like he's like, I feel like the show kind of like artificially inflates the drama with him in regards to like, the two father figures. Does that make sense?
Well, okay. So couple things. This was episode 3, by the way, just to kind of get that.
Damn it, I tried.
You were close, though. It was one off.
All right.
But I don't think you're necessarily... It is... I think it gets hurt by the fact that our resolution for this is that we split the dojos. That to me is what...
We'll talk about it when we split the dojos. I have major issues with who lands on what sides when we split the dojos.
But my heart goes out to Johnny during that. I feel for Johnny amidst what's going on there. That's the thing. It kind of saves it for me, where it's like, I mean, it was an inevitability because Miguel was introduced like Daniel LaRusso, as in he was our fill-in for that. And the idea is like, oh, he bonded essentially with the next generation LaRusso, and that's kind of like the charm of what we started with. So eventually these two had to meet each other, especially if he's dating his daughter. So it makes sense. This was like an inevitability that had to happen, and they did have a lot of chemistry together. And he taught him how to drive ultimately, which is he's one step away from giving him a car. He taught him how to fix a car.
And yet somehow Miguel goes with Johnny and the split, and Sam goes with Daniel, even though it felt like the whole point of what was building up to the split
was the other should have stayed with going with the others.
And that right there, I mean, I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, but that right there is kind of my main story problem with season 4. That it was like, I was just like, okay, if they really wanted to do this split, then they should have committed to like the main kids switching sides.
All right, what do you got, Rohith?
So Sam. So would it just be Sam from Miyagi-Do going to Eagle Fang? Or
yeah, I just think Sam joining up with Johnny and then Miguel joining up with Daniel. I think that would have been enough. But as it stands now, it felt like those two just kind of like went back with their respective father/father figures, just because like, well, I guess I better be on Daddy's team.
See, I got stuff to say on that, but I'm going to wait till we get to the episode.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
So basically, I think, like Blue Dragon said, like he is like Miguel's the next generation Daniel LaRusso. I think also part of it's like Daniel LaRusso is who he wants to be as a like with the whole successful business. I mean, it also doesn't help that like he's also the dad of the girl he wants to date. So part of it's just like if him putting on the girl pressure or bonding with Daniel sort of like, okay, this helps to preserve like my relationship with Sam. But I think it is interesting to your point about them switching. I think probably that's something that they might do in season 5. Like I think maybe I can discuss a bit more. I kind of can see where Miguel's story arc is for next season, and that might address your particular criticism of where the sides are. I think what the writers were doing, I think they are wanting to do what you're suggesting, but maybe they're just taking a little bit too long of a time to get to that point.
I mean, I'm saying we're already on season 4, guys. At this point, like stuff has got to happen.
The swap might be a little too late for 5. This would have been the season to do the swap, especially.
I don't know. I mean, I'll probably discuss this.
Not to mention, Miguel pretty much got taken off the board at the end of this season, more or less.
Guys, we got to talk about the poor kid. We got to talk about the Kenny boy. We got to talk about Kenny Payne.
Oh yeah, okay. So this is this big episode. Yeah, so Kenny, I do think is one of the new characters that absolutely works this season, and I am compelled by his storyline. I will admit that I towards the beginning, I was kind of like, okay, why are we spending so much time with this kid?
It paid off though.
It did. Let me tell you, I actually, believe it or not, Anthony LaRusso, I kind of like this season. I think the kid's kind of come into his own. You know who I didn't like though in his crew?
Like? Oh, the little the kid with the weird hair.
Yeah, I call him Baby Worm Tongue.
Wait, you mean like the Carrot Top Junior looking kid?
Yes, Carrot Top Junior.
Okay,
yes.
There's a Carrot Top with blonde hair. It's
just because, first of all, can we just acknowledge that Lapuso is one of the most lazy insults ever?
Well, again, they're like middle school.
I mean, they're middle school.
No, I get that, but it's like literally all you have to do is just add the word puss into any name, and there you go, dude. Yeah. It's like, you could easily throw that back around at people. I don't know. It's like, I get that they're in middle school. I was kind of sick of hearing it by the end of the season.
It does, but that's kind of the point.
So.
So real quick, I just want to say, just to shout him out again, Dallas Dupree Young, the actor who plays Kenny, did a great job this season being introduced, and also #make him Miles Morales.
Yeah, I honestly at this point I feel like he's so perfect for Miles Morales that I'd be disappointed if it was someone else.
Yeah. The thing is, he's born in 2007, I think, so he's 14 years old.
Yeah, right now perfect for Miles.
So weird. I think it's funny that TV. Standards of who looks like a teenager and who looks like a young person. Kenny is in junior high, like supposed to be like preteen, early teenager.
Yeah.
But like he's played by an actual teenager, whereas the actual teenager was played by people that are like their early to mid 20s.
Yeah.
It's always just the.
Well,
like
I mean, to be fair, this is not nearly as bad as like the Riverdale hellscape.
Oh no,
it's kind of like a camera. It's kind of like a weird age version of the camera adds 10 pounds. It's sort of like the camera takes off this many years or adds this many years. Or it's like,
no, what I did, it was very interesting for. Well, I really like Kenny as a character. Like you really feel for him in terms of bullying. Was interesting for me was that fact that his dad like was in the military.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder if that's something that is going to be followed upon in like the next season or two. Because here's my thing: it's like he's being trained by 2 Vietnam War vets.
Yes.
The way he's trained to be essentially be a sociopath. I really love the scene where his dad just sees how Kenny's performing and is just horrified of how
that is a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good pull.
Yeah, so I mean, of course, I love that he is bullied ultimately by for 3 seasons worth the most reviled Cobra Kai character in Anthony LaRusso.
Who again, I feel like Anthony LaRusso has kind of become not a great character, but I think he's graduated to tolerable this season.
Well, for me, it's not so much that. For me, what they did, and I think so successfully with this story, is that we took again the character who basically we just kind of had him around. We completely forgot about him because we don't have anything to give him to do. I've always hated that kid through the show, and I think a lot of people share that opinion. Is just the fact that we've addressed that he's been on the path of a spoiled brat, and he kind of embodies the LaRusso hypocrisy, and he builds to this like Daniel LaRusso's nightmare. His son is a bully, so that finally we've done something with the kid that actually made dramatic sense. So I like that we did something with it.
But what's interesting is how he has something really in common with his sister. Is that they really are impressionable and get swayed easily, and so the fact that they're in a bad crowd just makes them be on a row of bad decisions.
Yes.
Yeah, with first season Sam, and then now with like 4th season.
Yeah, hanging out with the bad kids. Same thing with the.
Oh, by the way, I like that in episode 1. Sam got a little. She was up to her old tricks just a little bit with like, oh, I'm gonna talk on the phone to Miguel, and then I'm gonna go to the skate park to talk with Robbie.
Yep. So I'm wondering if you guys shared this opinion. Okay, I have a prediction. Okay, the girl that Kenny is kind of befriended and is kind of interested in.
Yes.
Very certain that's Hillary. That's going to be Hillary Swank's character's daughter.
Oh, I like that. I
look at her. Here's I went into the season with a theory, and then that morphed once I saw this girl.
I rather not. I think the show's done a good job of not making the world feel like super small. Like not every character.
Well, they all do live in the same place, though.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean that
it's a small world, as they say.
Well, I think living in the same place is different from saying like, oh, this young kid that we've seen is actually this old Karate Kid's character. So I remember like people speculating that like Tori's dad is actually like Terry Silver, or like Miguel's dad is some like Karate Kid character. And I just feel like you can like I don't know. I feel that's kind of a trope that's a little too fanficky for me.
Okay.
Personally, but well, it's interesting. I am very curious about what they'll do with the Leah if in a season or 2. It's crazy that for me personally that like Anthony just basically impersonated her to like catfish Kenny.
Yeah, that's cruel.
He never either finds out or Anthony doesn't reveal. Like I feel like there's not consequences from her to him in light of that.
It's a good point.
I think it's just because the show's going out of its way to make little Carrot Top Grima Wormtongue to be like the main middle school villain.
True, but like considering how the show treats like just because like Anthony was the one that instigated it, he didn't do anything to stop it.
Like exactly. You saw he's being instructed by these bad kids, but he's very complicit. It's
interesting that the show never had like a moment where Leah confronts him about it. Like I'm wondering if she knows. Like
I don't think she knows.
Man, I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that like she finds out about like the next season, and then Anthony is like in a really hits rock bottom.
I have a feeling season 5 is going to be all about redemption, so I wouldn't be surprised if we did anything with Anthony. It would be further redemption on his part, like for him to maybe through Leo we'd do something like that. Or let's see some other stuff here. Okay, so here's a big thing of episode 2. Okay, and when's the episode talk? So this is when again it's so frustratingly close to what I want the season to be. Mm-hmm. Daniel and Johnny, they're training each other. And I love the sander gag kind of epitomizes the conflict of like, well, I sanded your deck for you. This is gonna take you hours. That was the point, though. It's supposed to take hours. It's supposed to be like my Miyagi lesson. Like, oh, come on. You don't need to trick him into doing karate. What's wrong?
Yeah. So here's also I'll say this. The thing that I was kind of frustrated by was that Johnny was able to demonstrate to Daniel the value of Eagle Fang in an actual real world situation.
Yeah.
But Johnny didn't get that. Same internalized lesson, in a real world situation with Miyagi-Do karate.
Well, real world, you're right, but he was able to use what he taught him in the whole ambush scene with the Terry Silver. Didn't work out as well, mind you, but
yeah, that's why that's the thing that annoys me. Is I feel like had there been a moment where Johnny that benefited from Miyagi-Do in a real world situation, I think that would have made things. I think you would have not as much issues with them just splitting apart because ultimately, if both men got to learn each other's shoes and have like a foundation of respect, then them maybe if they're just splitting on later on, like there's something there, to latch on to. But
I mean, I really liked that Johnny learning Miyagi-Do is something. Had he done that in the first place, he might have been well more adjusted in life, for all we know. I mean, again, it's not a certainty, but just the fact that seeing him in adulthood learn Miyagi-Do was kind of a really satisfying. Of all the times we pulled the Miyagi-Do lesson, it was really satisfying seeing him being taught the paint the fence and the wax and all that sort of stuff.
Which episode has the flashback to Johnny and his mom?
It should be, I believe that's 4. I think that's
okay. So we're going to episode 4. I wanted to make a point about regards to the mom's part. So
it's 4. I know for a fact it's 4.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
All right, so let's see. Anyway, so I love the no be there lesson because on the rewatch it does have some dramatic weight to it, where it's just kind of a gag, he tells him no, you couldn't have fixed his English after all the time you knew him, no be there. And during the whole hockey demonstration with Eagle Fang.
I'll say this as someone that knows people that have come to the U.S. at a very old age. It's very, unless if you're actively seeing an accent coach or all that, you can't really get rid of the accent, But besides that, it is funny. I do love Johnny saying no, be there, after Daniel wipes the floor with all the hockey players.
Right. Well, what I like about it is the fact that it kind of leads to the whole sprinkler debacle, which is the thing that splits him up. How that whole situation went. So, them not being there for that fight is the whole.
Guys, we need to get a better pace going here. I'm sorry.
All right.
We're only on episode 2. We need to sharpen up the pace here.
All right. Well, what about? I guess fine. We'll move on to 3. We'll dovetail back for Amanda. Okay, let's go to 3.
No, I mean, what do you want to talk? I'm just saying, let's finish up with what you need to do with 2. I'm just saying we need to, it just feels like we keep getting caught in these side conversations here. So let's all right.
So Amanda and Tori, this is a big thing for the season. I love how season 4 calls the LaRussos out on their hypocrisy a lot.
I honestly think Amanda LaRusso might be my favorite character on this show.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. I think she's fantastic. I love how she's game for the insanity, but she still calls out the insanity.
Yeah.
Go on.
I do. It's interesting her starting to feel bad for Tori. I do have to. I'll probably talk a little bit more Tori. That blow up. That Tori is that the episode?
The restaurant when she gets her fired by Drew, basically kind of forcing a scene unintentionally.
When, Tori just blames everyone else. She's the one that snapped at that one dude. I feel like it'd be something if Amanda did something to put Tori in a compromising situation, but she kind of has a bad temper, and I feel like nobody else calls her out on it, at least as probably she should. And it doesn't help that Sam is petty and just escalates things. And I wonder if that's maybe something that maybe Tiki or Blue Dragon might decide that's this is going back to sort of.
I mean, I actually did like the Sam and Tori stuff this season. I thought it was a good kind of role reversal. And Sam being the mean girl, I mean, honestly, I think that Sam's always been kind of a mean girl, you know, because just look at the way that she treats her romances, you know. So yeah, I think that Sam being the mean girl, being the bully, it kind of fits in line with the with Anthony LaRusso also kind of trailing down the bully path as well. And I think that Amanda LaRusso taking pity on Tori and wanting to be the mediator, but not but kind of making things even more messy. I think all that really really landed this season. Like I said, I think Tori is kind of the most improved character overall this season.
And to speak to that, I love how Tori's developed in that, she was never just a bully. Like, she was always judged, which made her lose her temper and kind of act in a way that then confirmed suspicion. So there's like a cycle going on there. And particularly, I love with the Amanda side of things here, where Amanda, she came there with an agenda and she was going to stand firm. So she had to know, like, there was a good chance things weren't going to go well. But John Crease, and I love this runner, how John Crease has the restraining order against her and everything, where Crease educates her to a point that she can't refute that not all the kids are as lucky as yours, and that Tori does have. We have this great thing where John Crease, the show has our senseis who bond with a certain student. John Crease absolutely is bonded with Tori, and I think he's really protective of her and he looks out for her. So I think that it's kind of gave Amanda perspective that definitely takes some places later. Mm-hmm. Okay, that brings us to 3.
Okay, then learn fly.
Right. Really
this is the rooftop one, right?
Yes.
Yes. I really like Robbie taking on Kenny as a student. I think that goes, like I said, as I mentioned, Tiki, like Robbie as like the most improved player in the season, and I think a lot of it's like him taking Kenny under his wing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Robbie this season was probably the most he gained the most maturity throughout the course of the season, and that includes all the grown ass adults in the room. So, more power to him there.
Yeah.
I think, unfortunately, the stuff with Johnny this season, or this episode, I mean, I don't think it was quite the level of shark jumpy that the split is, but I do think it was kind of like towing a line where it's like, all right, Johnny, like, come on, like this is like, you're literally like, it's a stupidly dangerous thing that Johnny is having these people do with, like, absolutely, like, at this point, I just don't believe
the mattress below the building and everything.
At this point, that seems like something that season 1 Johnny would do, not season 4 Johnny.
That is that's absolutely a fair point, Tiki. Yes.
And that bothered me. That was the first time this season where it really felt like, oh, okay, these characters are not quite as consistent as they maybe used to be.
It feels like we took an idea pinned on the idea board from season 1 and we just we kind of reused it for this season. We didn't use it before. Like, well, we didn't use this idea because we thought it was a little much for that season. Let's do it now. We need to bring Johnny back.
I don't know. I don't think it's too far. I mean,
I think it's too far.
Literally, it's a big jump. It's a little far.
I mean, if any of those kids actually tried it and failed the jump.
I mean, Johnny lit like Miguel's shoes in the hopes that Miguel, by just instinct, would just be able to walk.
He put him out though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can put out the shoes. You
can't
put out a broken bone.
Yeah, you can't unjump. But regardless, though, I mean, you're right about it, Tiki, but again, still, it is heartbreaking seeing Johnny see Miguel, the surrogate son, put on the Miyagi-Do headband that, it's kind of the symbol of his
is, yeah.
Speaking of
headwear. Of course, throughout this season, we do have a good through line of, Carmen and Johnny are finally getting together, and Johnny does not want to tell Miguel because of his past, and that's good. All that's emotionally resonant.
See, so. I kind of wish, like, with how much Miguel has bonded with Daniel, I don't know. I kind of wish there was that kind of level with Sam and Johnny. I don't
See,
know.
I'm glad you brought that up, Rohith, because I loved it when we had them gave them scenes together, but because of that split, we did not nearly give them enough time together, which frustrates me because it was great when they were together.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, Miguel hears like Daniel's life story and really latches on. It really latches on to like him, having a single mom and moving to a new place and all that stuff.
The Daniel fund, all that.
And the thing is, Johnny and Sam have a lot of common. They came from well-to-do backgrounds and they have a bit of a hot temper. And I feel like had like Johnny sort of laid out his life story, or and maybe about his problems.
Everything she's done has caused like kind of ripple effects in his life when you think about it, because she starts the whole show. She runs into the car. She starts the love triangle, which gets happens with Miguel and everything. All the stuff is kind of linked between these two characters, so it's a good pair.
Yeah,
but we don't do enough with it.
No, I think like with all the things that like Daniel did with Miguel, like teach him how to drive, teach him how to use a car. I feel like Johnny should have like done something like, I don't know. But honestly, I would have loved to see Johnny kind of like test Sam a lot. Like, see, because I feel like Sam, there's this underlying sort of perception of Sam, especially in the first 2 seasons, that she's like a goody two shoes or a good girl. I mean, there's a lot more to it. And I feel like Johnny should have just like play with that and test her and have her like push herself to be more tougher, like maybe not Tori level tough, but like tough enough that like.
I like that in this season we actually got some sort of through line on Sam crashing into Johnny's car in the pilot.
Yeah.
Where that tension still kind of exists. That was fun.
Yeah.
All right. So meanwhile, Terry Silver, he puts on the little ponytail hairband.
Mm-hmm.
I love that Terry Silver, they don't just jump right into it. There's a build up there. And Terry Silver, I mean, it's like, we're going to get kind of bits and pieces of him throughout the episodes, but I mean, it's fair to say he easily has the best arc of the season, right?
He has a great arc for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the ponytail, but I also think he also looks really cool with like his like long flowing hair.
He does, but I like that it's like the vein of control. He thinks it's control with the ponytail, but he's just crazy.
Batman mask. He just puts it on, and he's his old self again.
Yes. All right, that brings us to 4.
All right, episode 4. Dragon, you're gonna have to help me with this title.
Bicephaly.
Bicephaly. Thank you.
That's a guess, mind you, but bicephaly.
Yeah.
All right, so go on.
Is this the one where there's the flashback?
Yeah, this is the one with the flashback when we start.
Okay,
Johnny.
So I want to make this point interesting. It's like it's interesting for this episode to not only have the flashback to Johnny's mom, but also I feel like it's in that episode, or maybe it's the prior episode, like Daniel talks about his mom.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to sort of compare what their moms did and how that affected them. Like, because in present day, like Johnny, like Daniel's mom is like has been a widow for at least presumably most of her life.
Yes.
Whereas like Johnny's mom, depending on how long time has passed, like, immediately got hooked up with like a rich, fat bald old guy. And
what do we see about Ed Asner?
Yep. So,
I mean,
by the way, it's nice to put a little tribute to him.
It is. Even if this was like maybe one of the most unlikable roles Ed Asner ever had.
But again, character actor, man. We put him in a great show.
But it's like we talk like the show, like Cobra Kai's been a lot about like father-son dynamics and the absence of fathers or the presence of fathers. How would that impact characters? But it was really interesting to see sort of the mothers be given the spotlight, and it's interesting to like have to further the parallel between Daniel and Miguel. Also, their moms being people to like take them away, from a bad situation or just go into a good situation
through whatever methods they could. I guess Lorraine, I think her name's Lorraine. In Daniel's mother's case, she was very, very strong and very much, I'm going to do it on my own. Where Johnny's mother was like, well, I got to find someone, even if I don't really like him, I got to find someone to be sure I can take care of my kid.
Yeah, and then
so here's a hot take for y'all. Sure. I actually kind of wish that we would have gotten more flashbacks from Johnny's childhood, just because I love the flashbacks in season 3 so much. I think that was a great formula to kind of like, peel the layers back on one of our characters. I wish that they would have actually committed to that instead of just having it be the one quick flashback.
I think they're going to do that in season 5, Tiki, with the Miguel thing. I think
but it's always like, this is my problem with this season.
No, I understand. I understand.
This season
completely.
literally feels like we'll do it in season 5.
Yeah, I know, right?
Sure.
Yeah,
I understand that.
Yeah,
I can't help but wonder. Do you guys think we're going to see Johnny's father like as an old man in season 5? You think that's at all going to happen?
No.
Okay.
I don't think they'll go that. I think the core.
I mean, I think we're going to see Miguel's father. But
I know. Yeah, that'd be really shocking if we didn't do that. Yeah.
No, I think
Javier Bardem is Miguel's father.
That's great casting.
I mean, honestly, it's most
no, it's not. I literally just pulled out the most recognizable Spanish actor I can think of. Don't give me that much credit, Dragon.
It'd be fun. Okay, go
Michael
on.
Mando would be.
That'd be better.
Yeah, I mean, he's also done television, so it's not like too great. But I would think also like it's interesting. Like his just drinking Coors all the time, and the one Coors can is like
because his father drank Coors Light. That was a great. I did like that little nod.
That was a great detail. Yeah.
That's why he does it.
Yeah, it's I love how like this show and especially that episode, like there's strong parallels between Johnny and Peter Quill, and like both sort of being men that are stuck in the 80s and are both man children, but just have a lot of depth in them. So it was nice to see that.
Yeah. So Cobra Kai is teaching, kind of face your fear this episode. I'm going to dovetail back to something that we saw a flashback in the previous episode, but it really relates to what we're doing here, the face your fear thing. So John Crease is really offended later on, especially when Terry still was trying to get people to face their fears so they can be stronger with it, which essentially what he did in his recovery, I'm going to assume. So he's basically applied maybe a philosophy of Cobra Kai in the positive sense, which Crease is anti-weakness. He's like any bully. He's in denial of any weakness. I like to think Crease's fear, and I could be reading into it too much here. I think Crease's fear, like when we saw the formation of Cobra Kai between him and after I got the snake tattoos post-Vietnam, was I can't do this without you. Crease is desperately afraid of being alone, which is why he's created the institution, so he'll never be alone. He'll never be like after he lost his mother.
Well, I mean, look at where he was at the start of this show. He was living in like a halfway house,
a homeless shelter.
Right. That's
what I'm saying. I think that's his fear, but he just won't face it. He won't admit that he cares about people, that he needs people.
No,
sure.
I think what's also interesting, maybe this sort of like maybe looking into things too, maybe that are not there. I think how Crease and Silver reacted to sort of like what happened to the Cobras, like with the sprinkler thing. Is that this episode?
Yeah, that's the thing. So we should definitely talk about that because that leads into the next one with the split. So
what I was thinking is interesting in regards to like the philosophy of like fate, take your fears, and weaponizing it. I think for Crease, maybe his fear is really being perceived as weak, and like just being perceived, and like Terry like saying, "Hey, we're not going to respond to this." It's like him. It's just in his mind, it's like, "Oh, we're conceding to weakness." But I think for Terry, like he has sort of a higher view of what weakness is. And
honestly, Terry's view of weakness is more in line with LaRusso, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Which, again, just given the fact those two were very much the whole Karate Kid 3 of it all, it's very, yeah, I mean, Terry has Daniel's number later in the show when he calls him out, like, you've always been a hothead, LaRusso. There's a little bit of bully in you, which essentially is what Daniel LaRusso's arc is this season.
I mean, the whole Daniel LaRusso is a secret bully thing is kind of like one of the foundations of
I know, so that's what I'm saying. They've been pulling on the thread.
Yeah.
LaRusso's been so stubborn to it, he needs to recognize it, which he does this season.
That reminds me, Dragon. Who's the villain?
Yes. Who's the villain now? Oh, they did so. We don't have time to talk about it. Wrong. I have a reverse flash thing to tell you.
Oh God.
Anyway. So, but yeah. So Miyagi-Do. Yeah, speaking of that, Miyagi-Do instigated the kind of the retaliation there with the sprinkler system. Like, hey, we'll challenge you to a fight, and very much like Daniel LaRusso with the shower thing, and during that party.
I'm surprised they didn't cut to that scene. in the actual episode.
That is a weakness we got to call out this season. They have been really reliant this season on, like, let's cut back to the movies.
Yeah.
I know it's the charm of the show, but I'm saying it was really strong in the first two, and then it's just kind of like, okay, now we're kind of leaning on it a little.
Well, they're almost kind of like relying on it as like narrative shorthand instead of a flavor.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, you need it for Karate Kid 2, because not everyone's seen Karate Kid 2 when we do it last season. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. Unless you're doing a karate, we got the first Karate Kid movie and the opening of Karate Kid 2. That everyone knows. Okay, we don't need to cut to that again.
No, yeah. but I was surprised in that particular moment there wasn't a cut to that shower scene, because I feel like that would have maybe, I mean, not to say it wasn't conveyed through like William Zabka's acting, but that would have certainly hit how, like, you know, further influenced by Daniel. It's just like, oh, instead of like actually fighting like a man, he just does these like crafty, like, you know, manipulative tricks.
Yeah, I like that it had foundation, and that's why deep down Johnny's really offended by it. By like, you taught Miguel to pull your dirty trick, you pulled on me, but to all these other kids. But again, Johnny taking the mature kind of, Johnny's not wrong here when he points out, like, there's going to be a retaliation. We're not supposed to, you know, start this sort of thing. If you're going to start something, you finish it. Don't let it become a war. So Johnny absolutely had a point here, and that brings, speaking of point.
Can I make a blanket statement about the season that kind of applies through like all the episodes?
Well, what do you got?
I do not think the distribution of screen time between specifically the kids was handled well. Whereas I think that was a big strength in the first three seasons, was that it felt like every kid had something to do, even the minor ones, you know, they all had memorable moments. This one, I feel like even the big players, like, you know, the Hawks and the Dimitris, even they were kind of struggling for, you know, a storyline. I mean, Hawks kind of got the storyline of fitting back in with Miyagi-Do after he burned them. But, you know, I mean, and Hawk does have that big moment with the Mohawk, too. We'll get there.
Well, now there's just so many kids, though, Tiki. That's the thing.
And that's my problem. This season brings in a lot more, too. And it's like, for example, the trans girl, like I love her as a character. She seems really cool. I love that her and Johnny, you know, kind of have like, you know, we're kind of like eye to eye with each other. But man, she does nothing. She just literally exists to be like, okay, we need a female on that team. You know, I don't know. I just, you know, and people like Bert and the Asian kid, it's like they just get totally sidelined. I mean, I just feel like this season, I just feel like this season, it's just like, I just feel like a lot of the identity of these characters is just kind of like, they are just kind of more chess pieces than anything else.
Yeah, you know what? Kind of that line of criticism reminds me a lot of like what people had to say after Young Justice season 1 with 2, 3, and 4. Well, especially 2 and 3 having so many new characters and losing track of the original. So I definitely do see your point, Tiki. That like this season, especially Hawk and Dimitri are not as given as much focus, like equal focus among the kids. It's always, for me, I always think about like, say, Moon. Like Moon just like comes in and out, like I feel like she's more of an entity the first season and somewhat so in the second season, but like third and especially the fourth season, she's literally
a joke in the third season. Like, can't we all just get along? It's literally.
Yeah, the thing is, Yasmin had like more screen time.
I love the development we gave Yasmin. Here's the thing: we didn't need a lot of Yasmin here. I just like that we kind of dropped, like, oh yeah, she and Dimitri are still in. I like that couple. Oh, that's nice.
And I really hate to say this, I really do, but like with Aisha, she's around. She like has the one appearance, and it almost feels like I don't know.
It felt like we need to, like, everyone wanted to know where she was last season.
Right. Whereas Stingray is a fan favorite character from season 2 who actually got a big part to play in the story.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they couldn't have given Aisha that role.
I think the reason, and I could be wrong, to me, I always assumed the reason was, you know, because if she's back in the story, well, then she can fight for Eagle Fang. They don't have to worry about finding someone.
Exactly. But it's like I said, my problem is that they're throwing in too many new characters. We know Aisha, so, you know.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I think when Tori came into the scene, it just seems like Tori just replaced Aisha. as sort of the female Cobra Kai. And
which is a shame because I think Aisha is easily one of the big highlights of the first 2 seasons for me.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk episode 5.
Episode 5, match point.
All right. So this is the big dividing point of the season. No pun intended. This is where we have the. So I love that we open on the whole Daniel Russo and Terry Silver meeting each other because they respond to the whole sprinkler thing. And we see how ticked off Daniel Russo is after Karate Kid 3. And again, I love that I think really that sticks in his craw because that really insulted Miyagi because he had to turn against his master and everything. So he's really deeply wounded by this Terry Silver guy. Mm-hmm. And I like to think that Terry Silver, he offered a genuine apology for his past to Daniel LaRusso. And then when Daniel was rejected outright and just called him crazy, I think that really wounded him. Might just be alone on that, but
I can agree that's how Terry feels. But honestly, if any of us went through what Daniel went through in Karate Kid 3, I would not be be willing to jump and forgive that guy for what he did, especially since he was the one that cited how crazy that was the beginning. Of the season. So but I do like how after that it's just that there's that level of ridiculousness that's always great to see in Terry Silver. But this up I can now the more I think about it, I think the more I'm kind of more leaning. Not 100% there. I can definitely see where the second split up definitely maybe where things might not be going well for this season, and that's where people sort of are split. Where people are okay with it, and I think rightfully so. People might just all right, this is just dragging out the drama a little bit more.
Okay, so let's talk the rematches. Let's see what we haven't really kind of covered so far with it. Is that Terry Silver's up the stakes, so they're trying to okay, let's stop the bickering. Let's just one guy should teach the stuff. So we just have this kind of reductive thinking, and honestly, this feels like a mandate to me that hey, we got to do the iconic fight over again because we keep teasing it up in these seasons and the moments that actually assist our story. We got to do it once and for all because we're spinning our wheels a little bit. We got to do the iconic fight with the 3 points and everything. We have to contrive some way to do it.
Yeah. You kind of wish this was done in say episode 1 or 2 of season 4.
Sure.
And then maybe I had the Hawk stuff done earlier, and then that's where that would have, if anything, forced them to stay together. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know, you guys. I was rooting for Johnny to win this fight because I think he was in the right about a lot of things, and plus,
I do too, and I do kind of like that they brought LaRusso down to his how hypocritical he was in the first couple seasons. I like that they're reflecting that again.
Yeah. Also, I think he played a little dirty because he used that emergency move during this fight. He's not supposed to. That's moves when you're about to kill Crease last season. You're not supposed to do that now.
Yeah. I really wish there was an actual scene where Johnny did actually apply Miyagi-Do because in real life, but as long as he doesn't, if you're just watching the season as is, it's well, why is Daniel being so stubborn where he actually used what Johnny learned, taught him in an actual real life situation, and ultimately, it's Johnny's sort of be more closer to the Miyagi ideals. Hey, this is not just skills for a fight, but this is skills to how to be able to manage your life. And I feel I don't know why they just didn't have enough time, or they just forgot to do that. I feel Daniel should have had the opportunity to persuade Johnny, and then after the split, I would have liked to see maybe Daniel be a little bit more open to aggression, and then Johnny be open to the defense, so that way even if there's a split, there's still something that they learn from each other, and that's something that you see play out. But
sure,
yeah, I think with the way things end, it's certainly just going back to sort of.
And I mean, like I said before, I do think that the major problem is that, building up to this moment, we had, Sam very much kind of, seeing Johnny Lawrence as kind of a like someone who's underestimated, someone who she could learn a lot from. And then on the same time, Miguel is clearly bonding with Daniel. So for them to just kind of go back to their roots, like, I don't know. It just felt,
it feels reductive. It feels like we're losing momentum.
Right.
So the death of Hawk. Now he's alive, folks. Don't worry. But the death.
Okay,
of Hawk,
I have a funny thing here. So, do you remember how we emphasized Terry Silver getting his tattoo removed?
Yeah.
So when they were going for Hawk and they had like the razor out, and you see the Stingray tattoo or whatever it is. I forget
exactly. It's a hawk, Tiki. It's a hawk.
Yeah, right. Sorry. You see the tattoo. I thought they were gonna do a brutal fucking like scrape the tattoo off of his skin.
I thought they were just gonna write something on him, like trade something on him. I thought they were gonna do that, but yeah, I did not.
So honestly, when Hawk came back and all he had was the hair gone, I was like, oh, that's not as bad as I thought it'd be.
But still, like,
symbolically, I get it. Symbolically, I get it. But like, I was very worried that we were gonna get like a brutal, like, I'm gonna fucking scrape that tattoo right off your chest.
I don't think it's possible, Tiki.
Or I thought they were just gonna scar him, like leave marks on his body.
Right.
Yeah, I would have definitely imagined
like hair grows back, dude. You're fine.
But his confidence is shattered. He had the purple mohawk. That was the Enlightenment phase.
Oh God.
I like it that thematically does tie into his whole thing. I love that Johnny does defend these students, man, because he saw that happen. He wanted blood, man. Like, hey.
Because
he sees poor Eli. That was his whole thing that kind of distracted from the hair lip thing. So I love that he was just very like. I like what we did with the whole Eli kind of regaining his confidence story. I thought that was well handled. I didn't need a whole episode of him moping, but it was well handled in the end. So, episode 6.
Kicks get chicks.
Man, I love Johnny trying to recruit
This took it back to season 1.
Johnny's recruitment tactics are easily some of the funniest stuff in this whole season.
It's crazy that no one called the cops on him. Or
right.
It is California. So
it's just like I love how in the montage, just literally every exchange he has, he's just digging himself a bigger and bigger hole, and he doesn't realize it.
So this was just you bringing it back to the fun of season 1, where you see him struggling to find students. In this case,
that's what we miss about Johnny Lawrence, and I feel like that element of his character has not been here for the first 5 episodes. So it was nice to just dive right back into the un-PC
and Miguel's helping him with the stupid oil idea.
Right. So I will say this is one of my favorite episodes of the season, just if not for that alone.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just address this. This basically is my central problem with the whole season. One of my central problems of the whole season, outside the whole split thing. That gets it starts up here. I think there's a big plot contrivance of season 4, which is we changed the All Valley to a skill-based event purely so we don't rehash the season 1 finale.
Yeah.
And we can keep people guessing, which feels really manipulative. Like, well, we want to, that's why we have like episode 9 really shouldn't be there at all.
Right.
So it's that really bothered me in the sense, it's not the end of the world, mind you. It just feels like, man, they just put that in there just so they wouldn't repeat. And says, guys, just make the emotional stakes different. Then we can still have like a one-on-one battle. Girls can't be hit. What do you mean girls can't be hit except by it? Come on.
It's weird that
I thought that whole thing was kind of ridiculous. Yeah.
I thought it was the board meeting. I can see it was funny in some parts. I can see the whole there needs to be a separate rules which are making sense. I think we'll need to also change for the next All Valley tournament is making sure there be an age division and or weight division because
totally.
Like near the end, we were talking about a fight where clearly this should not have happened.
Like Bert going up against the giant guy who looks a little like Terry Silver with the ponytail.
Exactly.
Or Robbie with Kenny. It's so weird for people with the same dojo too.
That's what I'm saying. That didn't make any sense to me at all. Like how that happens.
Yeah, and I feel like that rule change, it did kind of unfortunately very much muddy the waters of the actual tournament, made the actual tournament less exciting to watch, which was unfortunate.
When we get to episode 9, there's not going to be a lot to cover just to assuade anymore.
I'm glad that we're on the same page about that, Dragon. You know what my description of episode 9 is? It's a shorthand I've used before.
Mediocre?
No. And they fight. Fight.
Okay, so
all right.
anyways, I love Johnny. By the way, I was laughing so hard when he pulled the Ladybug's plan. Just the whole, so there's this movie. This guy doesn't get any respect because I have no idea it's Rodney Dangerfield.
Right.
But again, I love that the solution was him going back to his season 1 roots with Devin Lee. Like he turned the debater into a fighter, which again is what the positive thing he was doing with Cobra Kai was all about. So that was great. And again, sympathy for Tori. We saw her horrible aunt, and you really.
Oh, that Tori. Aunt is a piece of fucking work, dude. Oh absolutely. My god,
dear God, like the whole like she knows, like, hey, my sister's gonna die, and then you'll be mine for the monies.
Oh god, yeah.
The dressed up version of it, but essentially that's the scene. Yeah. All right, so I think it kind of we already kind of talked the Aisha and the whole some of the Terry Silver conversations. So I think we should move on to 7.
Okay. 7 minefield. Let me switch it really quick. There we go.
All right. So this is when Miguel learns that Johnny and Carmen are dating, and this is where the whole dynamic kind of gets complicated for them.
Yeah. I like the Johnny and Miguel stuff this season. I don't know. I don't have strong opinions about it. Like, again, I feel like some of these storylines are just kind of like they're mostly just here to build drama before we get to the tournament. So a lot of it just feels like spinning wheels in a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this episode, I like the structure of this episode because while we have that going on with Johnny and Miguel, we have that watermelon scene where they're having the conversation about, basically he relates to Miguel's abandonment issues, and he teaches him the tornado kick over some watermelon, and basically, that's Johnny confronting his weakness by sharing it with him. And on the flip side, the main structure of the episode is the bet that Crease and Terry Silver had for like the brewskis or whatever, whatever it was, and essentially, rather
a lot of frivolous betting going on this season, apparently.
But this is the most important bet of the season, which should not be the case, but it is, because this is where we do the really great character stuff with Terry Silver between him and Crease, where Crease, again, rather than admit any weakness at all, he just kind of stored that away till like later after he lost the bet, which I'm sure he's not happy about. Like any bully, he takes it out on his friend, just attacking his character, like throwing the Vietnam, that's why it's called minefields. The guy blowing up in front of you, he's throwing PTSD in his face.
I love how Crease just basically like dangles the whole Vietnam thing over Terry Silver the whole goddamn season.
And he just, again, instead of being on the level as old men now, he just like pushes him back under his thumb, and that's what sets Terry Silver off. It drives him crazy again. So all the things that happen are because John Crease's ego.
Again, I want to reiterate, Terry Silver's descent into madness this season is fucking insanely satisfying to watch. I love how multi-layered it is. It's not just one thing that transforms him. It's kind of like a domino effect.
Yeah. All right, and of course, this is where Daniel LaRusso learns that his son has become a bully after Anthony causes trouble. He screws up all the Miyagi teachings when he calls a guy to clean the cars and everything. And again, just the utter shame. But he had like shame in a joking sense, but now we have utter shame that Daniel LaRusso feels towards his son. For like, oh god, such a great idea.
Of the cars, we did not get nearly enough Louis this season, man.
Yeah, well, to be fair, Louis did bring us the whole Marissa Tomei Jr. gag, though. That was
yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like, Louis is one of those gags. Like, that's another example of the season.
Oh, you go ahead.
I just feel like, like in the earlier seasons, they knew how to distribute screen time with all these characters, and with Louis, it's like I feel like with this season, it's like, okay, like we'll give each character one thing. And it's like, no, it's like Louis had stuff to, like, he didn't have a lot of presence, but he had funny gags throughout the whole season before.
Yep.
I think with the fact that since Daniel's now become more focused on the karate.
Yeah, we're not the dealership enough for
I mean, that's totally fair. Yeah, for sure.
I would have loved for Louis to try to get in, not on like learning karate, but wanting like to just promote the shit out of Louis or Otto.
Yeah.
With
It would have been funny. It wouldn't yeah.
Oh, I would have loved to see like it would have been so great for Anush and Louis to be at the tournament and just to like do color commentary. Like,
oh my god, yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Just little stuff like that. Yeah.
Good. All right. So let's go to episode 8.
Episode 8. All right, moving right along. It's party time.
All right, so this is the prom night episode where yep.
So this episode, just seeing that title, it definitely kind of filled me with dread of like, oh god, like the last time there was a big party was season 2, and that led to the big school fight. And unfortunately, I did not get that same amount of building tension and dread in this episode, even though I get that that's maybe what they were trying to go for.
Yeah, this one, let me go this way. I think this is proper setup what we have in episode 8. You're right, though. It's not necessarily, like as good as what we did there, but I like that it's kind of emotional setup. It's plot setup with Stingray. So Stingray is the big plot setup, which is like, hey, he's back.
It was so great to see him again.
Not only that, he's chewing out Bolin from Legend of Korra. It's
right,
PJ Byrne, or more so PJ. Bolin's being really mean to this guy.
So here's my thing. So for the party time episode, I think my issue with that episode, when we get to say the prom scene, I really like Robbie and Tori, like them having a relationship, and
I like those two kids together.
They're very believable. What I find an issue was that like it seems that like Sam is the one that has conflicted feelings about both Miguel and Robbie, and Miguel isn't the one that doesn't also have conflicted feelings. So it feels like it's not like a love square, love dodecahedron. It's more like Miguel's like fully into Sam, but Sam is not fully into him. So I just feel like either Miguel needs to also be shown to have conflicted feelings for Tori, so that way it doesn't. You kind of just don't like.
It feels a little one-sided, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it feels like you're putting Sam under the bus. It's like, and I know, like, especially with because I think how like people regard Sam as like, oh, she's like the creator of drama. She just can't. She just always go from one boy to another.
I mean, that's kind of what she was in the first 3 seasons, to be fair.
But I feel like it would have been also good for either Robbie or even Miguel to still have feelings for like the other girl as well. So that way it's not just Sam that's like causing the drama.
You're actually right. It is literally just like, yeah, like Robbie's fully committed to Tori. Miguel is fully committed to Sam. Sam not committed to either one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love this though. I love that Terry Silver goes full 80s villain this episode. So here's what we do with Terry Silver.
He does.
So one, I love that he foots the bill. I'm going to send these kids to prom. He sends them to the prom in style, just to basically kind of create the bait for Johnny Lawrence, which basically is his whole plan. I'm going to lure him back to the symbol of his 80s trauma, which is the original Cobra Kai dojo. And then I'm going to ambush him.
You know what I think? You know why it also probably triggered Johnny? Because him being the one to provide all these resources and him mentioning Shannon, his ex-wife's like, oh, she needs like someone to take care of him.
Yeah.
Terry Silver reminds Johnny a lot of Sid.
Yeah, that's a good point. Totally. I didn't think about that, Rohith. Yeah.
I can see that. I can totally see that.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, so again, I love, and this is the thing I did not see coming this season. They did really well, I thought. We're Crease. We kind of, again, we're building towards a Crease redemption, I think.
Absolutely, we are, and I love it. I love it because John Kreese, like season 3, he was like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. We've taken our time
around, you know, and
assuming we bring it home in 5, I think. And I know you don't like. I don't think it's kind of the repetitive phrase here, but again, if we pay it off in 5, we've done a really good job with our Crease redemption. We dedicated a whole season to showing he's got layers. We saw him as the bad guy in 2, and I don't know. I think we're building to because we saw again. He stopped. The crazy Terry Silver from killing Johnny Lawrence.
Totally,
yeah. Also,
there.
I think what I feel like that was a revelation for Silver in that moment. I think Silver probably realized was that Kreese didn't really care about Silver being back. It was just sort of like a rebound friend. or like colleague.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's really like the when Sam's with Robbie, but then Sam like expresses his feelings to Miguel with the kiss. I think with Crease like showing mercy to Johnny, that was just like that level of like you still have feelings, quote unquote, for this person that like betrayed you or left behind. So
yeah.
Oh yeah. So let's see. So Daniel, he does take a very valuable lesson from. He starts to come around the Cobra Kai thing after the Marissa Tomei Jr. or I believe cousin Vanessa, or like Louis' sister Vanessa.
yeah.
Basically gives.
How great of a scene was that, by the way? Just this character randomly just coming in and just totally dissecting every family problem with the LaRusso.
The Marissa Tomei thing's really funny because Ralph Macchio was in My Cousin Vinny. It makes it really funny.
What's also funny and crazy is that cousin Vanessa is actually Ralph Macchio's real life daughter.
Really?
Yes.
Get out of here!
Oh wow, nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which kind of goes to show like how crazy, like how good genes Ralph Macchio has. Though,
Ralph Macchio does. He has a Lazarus pit or something. I don't know what he's got.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Like Thomasine Griffith is like the same age as Ralph Macchio, but he's supposed to be older than Ralph Macchio's character in the show. So it's just
crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so basically, I love this moment where Daniel Russo, basically the idea is the hotheads are kind of blinded to their hypocrisy, which is kind of what we've seen evidence of this, which has led to this. Oh, go on.
No. I'm talking. This is the test scene.
Well, this is the scene where he breaks the tablet. He's like, quiet.
No. But I was also like, not just the hothead.
Oh yeah, Vanessa. Yeah, Vanessa gives him the test about do you have a spoiled child.
And Amanda like takes the bait, and it's like you really kind of see Amanda like in another life is just like basically an older Tori.
Yeah, which is what we set up with the whole arrest thing from her past, where the guy who basically adulterated her family. She got kicked the crap out of her car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So absolutely, and I just love LaRusso just like kind of losing it, and he channels Cobra Kai there, just like quiet, and it makes Anthony actually fall in line and fixes him as a character, and he says, "Man, Johnny has a point." Now, what bothers me is again through 9, this did not help. Is that again he realizes through the son that Johnny has a point, then he's going to realize through Sam they should have learned a lot earlier. Man, Sam is right for defending Johnny, that there was a point to this Cobra Kai thing. Why we need 2 kids to learn this lesson? Why can't we just be caught up to speed now with the one?
Yeah.
Anyway, so big scene of the season, I feel, is a beautifully captured scene where we parallel the Karate Kid, where we have drunk Miyagi, and in this case we have Johnny after he's been beaten the crap out of, he's been drunk as a skunk, and Miguel helps him to bed, and he's even singing like Miyagi did, and it's this beautiful
Danger Zone.
Yeah, it's even better. So. It's this beautiful and heartbreaking moment of like, I want to be a father to you so bad, but I suck at it, and it just leads to this, like Miguel's again. The actor who plays Miguel, he's always impressed, and this scene is just this is just beautiful. Where he says, "You're doing just fine. I love you," and then "I love you too, Robbie." It breaks your heart.
Oh God, that is the most heartbreaking moment of the fucking season. Absolutely, yeah.
I think it's just one of the best. Second to Kenny's,
it's a freaking knife stab to the heart, man.
Second to Kenny's moment in the finale is the best performance of the whole season. Maybe second to it, but I just love him. This also gives Miguel the light bulb for the finale that, well, he kind of sobers him up for a second. As much as I do love this guy, he is not my father, but my father is out there, and possibly he is feeling like this guy. So perhaps he has regret too. When ultimately the truth is his father doesn't even know he exists, which is even sadder.
Yeah.
Right, so that brings again 9. We're just gonna fast forward through the fall.
So they fight. I'm
trying to see if there's.
We have to talk about Stingray. Did have a really good cliffhanger.
Oh yes. Okay. So yes. So in 8 we had Stingray. Basically, it's just so sad that Stingray.
I gotta be honest with you, having that looming cliffhanger made episode 9 even more frustrating for me.
Yeah. All right. So Stingray. Here's the thing. there's a plot thing with Stingray is that they cannot have him rejoin a dojo because he can't enter the All Valley. Which when they introduced him, they were after the All Valley. That's why that happened. So because of that, we kind of wrote him out, but we gave him a really important role in the dismantling of the dojo.
You want to be Cobra Kai?
Yes, and just we beat the ever loving crap out of him. And again, the fact that you feel bad for this Stingray character, don't you? Not just the fact that he gets beaten to near death, the fact that he's going to take it.
Paul Walter Hauser, so the actor is good at making you empathetic towards him.
Yeah, just the fact that after all that, he still wants to belong. And I love to me, it's like you want to save him by saying, no, listen, Stingray, be a co-teacher at Eagle Fang. You can do it. Go to Eagle Fang.
Totally.
I'm surprised Stingray survived that beating. My God.
Yep. All right.
So imagine if they just killed off Stingray by just being beaten to death by Terry. Whew.
All right. So 9.
So yeah, Dragon episode 9. I mean, I'm glad we're on the same page because I was just really bored by this.
So all the important.
It was just all the glorious stuff that we had built up from season 1 when they get to the tournament, and it's just gone now. It's literally this whole episode is just and they're fighting, and another fight. And another fight. And another fight.
The biggest meat we had in the episode was the cliffhanger, where
it
seems oh God, Miguel's back. Which made sense. I mean, he's pushed himself awfully hard this season, so it makes sense.
So, regardless of the episode, Dimitri doing all the weapon stuff, I really wish Dimitri had more stuff in terms of him learning how to do the weapons.
Yeah, totally.
Master it and do really well, by the judge's perspective, would have been super satisfying. But this is just we just want scenes to show other characters beyond the main character kids doing martial arts stuff.
Yeah.
Not actually do fights,
Hey, Tiki. Just real quick, how cool was that Pac-Man tux from the prom that Dimitri had?
You know what? It was Dimitri is very stylish in his own nerdy way. I will give him things for that.
All right, just want to call it. I love this.
Yeah,
text.
no, for sure.
Sorry, get back to this very little this episode. That's why I'm getting sidetracked. So Robbie had a good line. Had a really good line that does facilitate kind of a lesson of the season. I think does kind of shake the cobwebs out of LaRusso's ears here, where he says, "Everyone thinks their way is the only way. It doesn't matter which way you do, so long as it works," which is right. And then you should blend the methods. And why it takes 3 people to tell him this, I have no idea. But
right.
So again, Eli also here's some satisfying that they've been building this since season 1. This is really satisfying payoff on the side. Eli beat his bully, the guy who gave him the inferiority in the first place, by calling him Lip. Well,
yeah,
I mean,
sure.
Maybe not calling him, but I don't know if Lawrence called him Lip in the first. But the point being that he beat up the Asian kid that
Diet Coke Ross Butler.
Yes, exactly. Diet Coke Ross Butler. That is absolutely right. All right, so cliffhanger. We're worried about Miguel and his back after we spent a whole season just kind of rehabbing. Well, we're going to do Dark Knight Return. We're going to do Nightfall again.
It bothered me that it's pretty the cliffhanger gets pretty instantly resolved at the start of the next episode.
No, it does. It felt manipulative to me, which
it did. Yeah, exactly. And frankly, a lot of the cliffhangers this season, episode cliffhangers, felt manipulative. Yeah, there were a few good ones, like the Stingray one, but
Mm-hmm. All right, so that brings us to 10, the finale.
All right,
the rise.
10.
Oh, I'm surprised we haven't addressed the Carrie Underwood of it all.
Oh my God, yeah. You know what? I like it just because it's gloriously cheesy in a way that is very fitting to the franchise.
It just felt like the most padded. Why the heck is Carrie Underwood here?
I know. There's no reason for her to be, but whatever.
It was just trying to find. It was just all right, insert popular female musician that pays off the gag from the board meeting episode scene.
Right.
I think I don't mind the Carrie Underwood, her singing a song from the Karate Kid soundtrack over a montage, but it's just weird for her to show up in the tournament itself, right?
Yeah, it's just it's a big fanfare thing. It can't just be, and we got Carrie Underwood instead of we had to build it up. Anyway.
Yeah, I hear you.
Why are we talking about Seal? Anyway.
Right.
Okay, so the finale. So again, as a finale, hopefully to the penultimate season. It's kind of where I'm at with this. I like that we subvert the classic Karate Kid moment where, okay, Daniel Russo's been injured by a dirty move. In this case, not a dirty move, but our guy Miguel has been injured, and he's been pushed too hard by Sensei Lawrence here for ego versus the stakes, which is the other thing we teed up in 9. Basically, the payoff here is that, okay, you got to fight for the right reasons, which is a good moral, I think. That he was fighting for the wrong reasons, because, and again, it's a shame that we had to drag out the whole season to get to this sort of thing. How impressive would it have been if we did the All Valley like episode 5 or like episode 6?
Dude, I would have loved that, honestly. Yeah.
Imagine.
And I honestly feel like this show could have pulled that shit off.
Yeah. So, bare minimum 8. You know, episode 8.
Yeah.
Regardless, that's the thing. I do like the whole. It should have been like we should have been reminded of the stakes to Miguel of like, hey, it's the ability for me to keep teaching you. That's why we're doing all this. To be a sensei and keep the dojo open and everything, versus just like, we're doing it just because like the moment he mentioned Daniel LaRusso, like we're going to show LaRusso and everyone, he lost the support. That's where the confidence was shaken. He doesn't get back in the ring. Go. What do you?
Yeah, I think with that particular scene, I think that's sort of setting the scene for them to actually, for Daniel and Johnny to actually reunite, because I think they'll have to realize that, like, oh, them focusing themselves just actually and not to the children have actually led to just people like making decisions that have put them in danger. Like I would not be surprised for season 5 for Miguel to be in a dangerous situation, and then for both Daniel and like Johnny to like come in to try to help Miguel, like how they try to help Robbie in season 3, and then coming to the realizations like, God, we've been so focused on ourselves that we haven't focused on like what really matters, which is the kids. And I think that will be the push.
Yeah. Like we see Johnny, we didn't do a huge mistake here. Like we didn't have Johnny go, why didn't you get back? And then he's not upset with him. He blames himself for this because he realizes, God, I pushed him too hard. And obviously, it's how all that goes. All right, so let's talk the Kenny Anthony scene in the locker room. This is a big favorite scene from the season. From hearing from a lot of people, and I'm hard pressed to disagree because this scene, just the performance on Kenny here was just brilliant.
And I love that it kind of sets up like, you feel for this kid. You really do. But at the same time, this display genuinely does elevate him to threat.
My favorite thing just with this kid's arc by the end of the season is that he went from starting again in the Daniel LaRusso exact mold, and he ended up Terry Silver.
Right, totally.
The fact that he took, you can see like when he gives that smile, just that performance of you're gonna. By the time high school comes around, you're welcome to a world of pain. With that smile, it's a Terry Silver move. Like, dear God, it's just so chilling. And seeing Robbie's reaction to this, like, oh God, like, look at what I created.
For sure.
It's a reaction. He feels so bad about it. He goes back to his father because, like, I created.
What have I done? I've created a monster.
And basically, he feels like he understands what his father's been going
through. What I love about the Robbie thing is that he essentially feels like he's kind of pulled a crease of his own. You know what I mean? Inadvertently.
Well, also it parallels with how Johnny felt about Miguel at the end of season 1.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Did we go back and? Oh no, we're all.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just deleting the back catalog. My bad. Anyways.
Right. But yes, or it is very, very reminiscent of the Miguel turn. Like, my boy has turned on me. What has happened? What have I done wrong? And feeling kind of like a failure to a degree. And that's obviously what brings Robbie. Like, I understand now, Father. I'm yours again.
Right. But we joke about it. But that was seriously a very, very emotional, very heartfelt scene between Robbie and Johnny.
And the fact that
a long time coming too.
It has. Absolutely. Speaking of what, I like that Eli was given the opportunity to beat Robbie. By the way, I like that. I love that I like that they saved this. That we did the 3-point, like the sudden death thing that was the big, the crane kick thing from the original movie. Like,
right,
yeah,
hasn't happened since '85.
Yeah.
So Tori had a big thing we should talk about here. I felt really bad for Tori in the finale because. Again, I like that Crease gave the moment of like, hey, just fight it the way you're going to fight it, because he just has trust in her. And again, he's bonded to her like these other senses he bonded their surrogate children. I love that what broke my heart, I feel so sad for Tori because she did fight on her own terms and she won all she wanted this season because she's in a really crappy home situation. She's essentially raising her own brother and her mother's sick and she's got this bloodthirsty aunt hovering over her. So it's just the fact that all Tori wanted was just a win this season, and her win, as she learns, Terry Silver paid the ref. He bribed the ref, and you can see during those fights, like all those out of bounds, like bad calls that they're calling. I was like, oh god, maybe she should have won those fights.
Yeah. What's interesting is like Tori, for all her issues, she's like hot tempered, vindictive, all that stuff. She doesn't fight without honor.
Yeah,
and. Also, what's like part of her psychological makeup is that she's reliant on herself and on others. And I think her figuring out that like her big victory that she felt was like her, fighting against the world and proving her worth with her Terry Silver just manufacturing the situation. That's I would imagine season 5 Tori to be very much like how Eli was after the Mohawk situation.
I think what's going to happen with this Tori thing, I think is going to be really important for the season 5. I think it's going to happen. She's going to be the loophole, so they don't have to honor the bet that they made. She's going to be she's going to reveal, not officially.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
So I don't think she's going to go to the commission or anything. I think she's going to say to the senseis and everything, we know what you did. So this bet, there's no honor in this bet. We're not
totally.
We're going to
learn
from who we want to learn. Good call. That's what I predict is going to happen.
I would like. For season 5, for Miguel and Robbie to have a dynamic and maybe forgive each other for all that's happened.
That would be nice because
I honestly, with how much Daniel and Johnny are the same person to a certain degree whenever they bond, I would like for scenes like that to happen for the 2 main male characters and the 2 main female characters.
Yeah.
So speaking of Miguel, Miguel's on a bus to Mexico to seek his father, who's a criminal from what we understand, and he has no idea.
I wonder if they literally did this just because they're worried about the actor aging up even more in between the seasons.
Well, how long do you think a bus ride to Mexico takes?
I'm just saying, it's possible. If it's just not a good situation at all, they could just write him out of the season.
A few hours. But the thing is, what's to the, I think probably to the detriment of the show is that each season takes only half a year, and it's not like the typical network show season where each season kind of generally goes.
Technically, both seasons 3 and 4 came out in 2021.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's the
first day and the last day of the year, but
which is crazy, which is insane, by the way. But yeah,
right.
No, but basically, season 1 is the tournament, and then 3 seasons later is the second tournament for the show. And considering each season goes half, basically half a year or 1/3 of the year, we won't get the next All Valley tournament till season 7.
And then,
as Dragon kind of alluded to, I hope that season 5 is it, but we'll see.
Well, here's the thing too. You got to remember again, if they do another tournament, which I don't think they're. I mean, if they end at 5, they're not going to do another tournament. I think we can say
they're not going to end at 5.
But regardless,
they already Hurwitz, one of the showrunners, John Hurwitz, mentioned that they already have plans for season 6, and season 6 is not going to be the end game. So,
son of a bitch! Are you kidding?
I mean, I didn't know how official that was. I thought it was
if they're just going to then they're just milking it. Then they're just milking it at this point.
Well, I mean, Tiki, I think originally the assumption was that 5 would be they reintroduced the Hillary Swank thing of it all. Then 6 would be the Jaden Smith thing, which I'm hearing the Jaden Smith thing's not going to happen, which is why
no one wants the Jaden Smith thing. What the hell? When did that ever come into the equation?
I think the 2010 Karate Kid movie is actually a lot better than people.
It's a good movie, Rohith. Oh, it's a good movie, but it's just it does not fit into this.
Yeah, because Hurwitz mentioned in a tweet or so that he's only going to be addressing he's going to bring in characters that either knew Mr. Miyagi was
now Jackie Chan. If we get Jackie Chan in this show, that's what I can't say no to that.
Sounds like we're sticking with the Miyagi we know, as Rohith says.
I'm not saying Jackie Chan's going to play Miyagi. I'm saying maybe Jackie Chan could play.
No, I know that's what you're saying.
Associate of Shojins or something.
Yeah, what what I'm speculating, like if we were to go to future season forecasting, it's like I would not be surprised if Hilary Swank shows up at the end of season 5, and then season 6 is potentially her training, like Sam or Tori if she were to come to the Miyagi-Do or whatever reason that'd be. And then season 7, maybe season 7 will be the final season for the main cast, because there's talks about spin-offs, right? And considering like Kenny and Anthony, I wouldn't be surprised if there was like a spin-off show. But here's my pitch. My pitch would be Anthony LaRusso is the main character, we start with Anthony LaRusso as the main lead or the main POV, but he joins Eagle Fang. And have Johnny train him, and then have Eagle Fang Cobra Kai. But that's besides that. But beyond that, this episode, my God, what happens in the last 5 or 10 minutes was my mouth was literally open.
Yeah, we have to talk about that. It's a great cliffhanger. I feel like it's a great kind of it's almost like a role reversal on what Crease pulled on Johnny at the end of season 2.
Well, you know what
Absolutely.
You know what this all reminds me of? Like Cobra Kai, I feel like feels kind of like the Sith, where there's like the rule of 2, the one who has the power and the one who desires the power.
Oh my God, you're right. Yeah.
And so like the apprentice has to kill the master to become the master. Imagine if Terry Silver just gets upserved by Mike Barnes. Just
well, that's the thing. We know that he's bringing in the next Karate Kid villains. That's what.
No, I think it's Mike Barnes was probably
really.
Yeah, because Mike Barnes was in the Karate Kid 3, and I don't.
You're right. You're right. That's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, the next Karate Kid has the ROTC guys. That I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if Mike Barnes has connections to the next Karate Kid villains, or like Cobra Kai loses, and then they have to get help from people to train and all that. Considering considering Terry Silver is like a Vietnam War vet, I would not be surprised if he somehow knew those ROTC people casually as a military thing, or whatever. But
right. So anyway, yeah. So we pull a big switcheroo. Crease is in definite legal trouble right now. Which ultimately, here are my hopes for season 5. Just with that, and also just to mention too, Daniel LaRusso teaming up with Chosen.
Guys, I'm sorry, I got to bring it up. We really do need to wrap up.
I'm trying to wrap it up, too.
Yeah, I know.
So we have LaRusso teaming up with Chosen to clean up this mess that we leave at the end of season 4, which is pretty cool. So
I mean,
honestly,
that's not necessarily a cliffhanger where I'm jumping up and down in my seat. It's more so satisfying. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, let's see what happens. Let's see what comes out of it.
Expecting Hilary Swank to show up at the end? Because one of my friends thought he was, and then
I got to admit, Rohith, I'm not with Hilary Swank. It's kind of just if she shows up, she shows up. I'm not married to the next Karate Kid one way or another, I'm not.
It's such a boring film.
The movie's not good at all, but the idea they could redeem it in some way, that's the tantalizing.
I think my friend's theory was they wanted to get Hilary Swank, but she couldn't show up for a reason, but then season
right,
and then they got Chosen, which Chosen's a great charter, and I would love to see how Chosen interacts with the kid characters.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, totally.
That sounds like a fun dynamic.
Chosen and Dimitri would be just the most hilarious.
Oh my God, dude! Oh my God!
Oh yeah. So, honestly, again, in thinking that I don't want to speculate too far or anything.
Yeah, guys, we've already done a lot of speculating for season 5, so I'm sorry. I don't mean to be an asshole, but we really do need to wrap this up soon before it becomes a 2-hour podcast. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay, let me put a point on. And
okay.
So, again, look, I mean, I don't want to speculate all live long day or anything. Is that I'm thinking I don't see him going beyond 6 personally, but assuming 5 were the ending, I'm saying the things that we need to wrap up, things that we need to see. I want things. I'm hoping things go full circle. We solve the root of the rivalry, which is the daddy issues, which we could do through the Miguel story in Mexico. I'd imagine, which is probably where we're going to start next season. Robbie going to Mexico with Johnny, perhaps to do that. And ultimately, I think perhaps on a path to redeem Cobra Kai by redeeming John Kreese and helping him out of his legal situation. And I'm thinking broad spectrum Hilary Swank helps dismantle the now franchising Cobra Kai in some way, shape, or form. I don't know how, I don't know why, but that we have to fit her in somewhere.
She shows up as a lawyer.
That's what I'm saying. I think that she would I think they're going to tackle the franchise thing.
Of the Miyagiverse. That wouldn't be too huge relief. But
all right, anyway, so I think we've reached the end. I think season 4, again, not as solid as the past 3, but not without its impressive elements. I'd like to say.
Yeah,
I think there's still a lot to glom on to, but not as cohesive as the past.
And talking with you all, I think Tiki does. I think you've definitely made some points that I feel like I'll be more on your line of thinking depending upon how season 5 turns out.
Yeah.
So but I do agree.
And honestly, a big part of me is just like I just like I said, I am seeing like all these people like the Jeremy Johns. I'm not trying to call out Jeremy Johns. I love Jeremy Johns, but like people like that, like they have a tendency to just like when something new comes out, it is something that they're into. They're just like, oh, it's great. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, yeah, it's good, but like I love
you need time to digest it after.
Yeah,
right. He's going out the first watch. You need time to digest.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was very worried going into this podcast. Like I kind of had a little mini freak out. Like, don't point me as the cynical, negative asshole, guys, please. But I think we had a good, well-rounded conversation out of this. I feel like we had a good time here. So,
you want to shout out that guy before we go?
Yeah, that guy literally like the one comment right at the start. Hiya! All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I bet that's like a like kind of like halfway like a hiya guys and a hiya.
Right.
All right. Okay. So thank y'all so much for joining us. Of course, we'll be back on Sunday for the Book of Boba Fett and other stuff. Look forward to that. And yeah, in the meantime, welcome to Ninja. Please keep all hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the car, and you're clear for ditch patch. Hiya, hiya, hiya.